Hello, everybody. Welcome back to yet another video of FikarNot.com. Now, FikarNot from Studies. So, today is a bit of a different video just because, as always, I don't have a scanned copy of my textbook in front of you all, but I just have a normal image because normally my textbook is extremely untidy with like all these markings and stuff, and it really does not look that pleasant. And especially my English book, when I am referring to a chapter that I want to teach you all, it looks really bad. It's like completely, you won't be able to read the text. It's so bad because I want to cover so many points when I'm teaching you all. So I just have a normal picture, and today we are going to be doing the chapter The Heart of a Tree. The Heart of a Tree by Sir Henry. Now, The Heart of a Tree is a very interesting chapter. Since we were small, we have been hearing all these environmental talks and everything. Save trees for your future, save trees for your future generation, all of that. And let's be honest and say that, do we actually apply all the theories that have been told to us? I don't think so, right? Because we hear that theory, we think, and we're like, okay, sure, let me save trees, let me plant trees. We go back home and we forget about it. But well, this poem is such a nice poem. Especially, I love this poem so much. It really talks about how we should plant a tree and what are the benefits of planting a tree in a very interesting manner. It's a very informative poem, but in a very interesting manner. It is presented in a very interesting manner. So without further ado, let's get into the video. We will finish the complete poem in this video because this basic poem isn't that hard, honestly. It's an extremely easy poem. You just need to understand what the poet means in a lot of his terms or sentences, stanzas, etc. Okay, starting off with the first stanza. What does he plant who plants a tree? He plants a friend of sun and sky. He plants the flag of breezes free, the shaft of beauty towering high. He plants a home to heaven and I, for song and mother crone of bird, in hushed and happy twilight heard. The treble of heaven's harmony, these things he plants who plants a tree. Okay, a very magical stanza right over here. It has a lot of back meaning, and let's go through it, alright? So, starting off, the poet is over here. He's asking a question to us. And he's saying, what does he plant who plants a tree? So what does he mean? He's saying that when a person plants a tree, along with a single tree, what is he planting? What does a person plant when he plants a tree? What are the things that he is planting along with planting a tree? So the first thing the poet is saying, so he's asking a question to us. I always say ask, sorry. He's asking a question to us and he's answering it himself, right? So he's saying he plants a friend of sun and sky. So the person who is planting the tree, he plants a friend of sun and sky. Now, a friend of sun and sky is basically being referred to the tree over here. A tree is nothing but the friend of sun and sky, right? Now, why is it the friend of sun and sky? It has to be like very close best friends with sun and sky, right? Why? Because the tree depends on the sun and the sky for its living, and we depend on the plant for our living. And why is that so? Well, from the sun, the plant, of course, like second grade biology, just right over here, the plant basically plants a friend of sun and sky. Sun as in the tree is a friend of sun and sky because it depends on both of them for photosynthesis. Like from the sun, you get the sunlight, which is important in the process of photosynthesis, and from the sky, you get carbon dioxide that we release from our bodies, right? So he plants a friend of sun and sky. So when he plants a tree, he's planting a tree who is a friend of sun and sky. Clear? He plants the flag of breezes free. So when the person is planting the tree along with a friend of sun and sky, the person is also planting a flag of breezes free. Now this represents two things over here. So underline this. First thing that you have seen, right? A tree it's extremely huge. It's like humongous, right? So when breezes pass through the tree, it's like flags are waving. It's like flags are waving and just in the air dancing. The second thing that it represents is a tree waves like a flag, as I just said, which also represents independence and freedom. Whenever have you ever seen movies where two countries they're fighting, and whichever country basically wins goes and puts their flag over there, and this shows that this is freedom, right? We are independent, and this shows the freedom, and this shows that we are away from all the negative thoughts and we are positive. So the flag that is going, as in the flag that is in the sky, as in the tree who's acting like a flag going from here to there, represents freedom, independence, and positivity, as in the tree is away from all the negative thoughts. It's a good idol which gives us oxygen and is a good living organism, right? Then hope this is clear, right? The shaft of beauty towering high, he plants a home to heaven and I. For song and mother croon of bird, in hushed and happy twilight heard. So the shaft of beauty traveling high, again, it represents to how tall the tree is. The shaft of beauty, as in a very big tower of beauty, a beautiful tree towering high. So towers that we see, like in UAE, the Burj Khalifa, it's a tower, right? And it is so high, it is the tallest building of all time, right? Similarly, over here, they are also saying that the tree is also like a tower. It's a shaft of beauty, as in it's a tower of beauty towering high, as in it is a very, very tall structure, a beautiful tree which is tall. Okay. Now these three lines, he plants for song in hushed. These three lines that I'll mark right here, these are together and they are linked to each other. Okay, they're linked to each other. So oops, I'm sorry, I just marked the wrong lines. Yes, these three lines are connected to each other. Okay, he plants for song in hushed. Those three, okay? So he plants a home to heaven and I. So just, in the last two lines, we were talking about how tall the tree is and all of that. So the poet over here is almost exaggerating and using hyperbole by saying that the tree is so high in the air, as in it is so tall that it almost reaches heaven. And this also relates to the flag sentence. He plants the flag of breezes free. Plants the flag of breezes free because flag, it represents positivity, independence, and freedom. And when a person has all of the three, that's when the person can go to heaven, right? So he plants a home to heaven and I. He plants a home to heaven and I, as in the tree is so large that it is almost touching heaven. Exaggeration, right? For song and mother croon of bird, in hushed and happy twilight heard, the treble of heaven's harmony, these things he plants who plants a tree. So for song and mother croon of bird, so basically when a mom sings to its baby, right? When a mom sings to its baby, in this case like a bird. So when the mother bird is singing to its baby, it sings to its baby during a very happy tone in twilight, in a very suppressed tone. And when a person plants a tree, he like nature to the mother and his baby, and her baby, to the mother and her baby in a heaven-like atmosphere, towering high in a very beautiful structure that is a tree. So the person who plants a tree not only plants a friend, not only plants a flag, not only plants a beauty, but also plants a home, for the mother croon of bird, as in the mother humming to the bird, singing to the bird. So for song and mother humming of bird, in hushed and happy twilight heard, in treble of heaven's harmony. In treble of heaven's harmony, as in basically the tree is providing a shelter to the mother and the baby that is living in the tree or on the tree, whatever, right? And these things he plants who plants the tree. So over here, all these things. So the poet asks a question and finishes his answer by saying, these things he plants who plants a tree. Okay, hope you all understood this stanza. Moving on to the next stanza. What does he plant who plants a tree? He plants cool shade and tender rain, and seed and bud of days to be, and years that fade and flush again. He plants the glory of the plain. He plants the forest's heritage, the harvest of a coming age, the joy that unborn eyes shall see. These things he plants who plants a tree. So once again, the poet asks a question and answers it in a different manner. So what does he plant who plants a tree? Again, he's asking the same question, and he this time answers it in a way by he plants cool shade and tender rain. He plants cool shade and tender rain. Why? Because as we again in the previous stanza we read that a tree has humongous leaves and it is extremely tall. So if anyone sits below a tree, that person will get cool shade, right? We have seen in many stories that when a traveler, a tourist, anyone, they are hiking or just going through the forest, when they get tired, they sit down a tree to get cool shade. Or a lot of times our mom and dads, they park the car below the tree just because their car stays cool, and similarly in the travel's case, so that they can get some cool air and not get tanned and just like rest in cool shade. So the person who plants a tree plants cool shade and tender rain. Tender rain because we all know the place with more trees has more rain, and that's why someone living in the desert place like UAE, which was previously known as a desert, did not have a lot of rain and still does not, because it doesn't really have a lot of trees. And the place that has more trees has more rain as well. So, and tender rain basically. And seed and bud of days to be, as in the person who plants a tree not only plants one tree but also plants the next generation. So the tree gives out a lot of seeds, and seeds become buds for days to be. So it's the beginning of the next generation that is starting over here. And years that fade and flush again, he plants the glory of the plain. He plants the forest heritage, the harvest of a coming age. So over here, we see that, and years that fade and flush again, as in after a while, we all know death comes to everyone. It's a whole evolution of life. You get birth, you are a toddler, you become a child, you become a teenager, then you are a young adult, then you become a proper adult, then you become a middle-aged woman or man, and then eventually you go in your old age and then you die. That's a whole revolution. That's the circle of life, right? And similarly, since tree is also a living organism, the tree also has to go through this complete circuit of life, right? So the years that fade and flush again, as in after a while the tree dies. But in meanwhile, the person who plants the tree, he plants the glory of the plain. As in this case, we are saying that the trees bring glory. So in meanwhile, the tree has already given rise to many seeds, which have given rise to buds that we saw in the previous line, right? And seed and bud of days to be. So the person who plants a tree also plants a glory, plants a seed, a bud, a cool shade, tender rain, all of that. So even though after years that fade and flush again, even though the tree dies, the generation over here is continuing because the person who started off with the idea of planting the tree is still not dead. The next generation is coming up, then the next to next generation will come up, and it keeps on going. And that's how this whole generation creates a forest. So imagine a person plants one tree, and after, like, say, 15 to 20 years, it becomes a great large forest. The harvest of a coming age again talks about the future generation. Right? So these 4 lines that we just looked at basically talks about after a while the tree dies, but in meanwhile the tree has already given rise to a new generation. So this new generation turns into a forest now, and that one tree is like the founder of the complete village. Not the founder, but the CEO, and the person who planted the tree is the owner and the founder. And that's the complete forest. And the joy that the unborn eye shall see. That means the tree is a gift for the future. The unborn eyes, as in the new generation, that once they will open their eyes, they will look at this complete world. They will look at trees all around them. They will feel that happiness. Right? Unborn eyes. That's what they say. So the joy that the unborn eyes shall see, as in, yes, I've come into this world, and they will have this joy, looking at other trees. And these things who plants a tree. So with this, we come to an end of the second stanza as well. Okay, moving on to the third stanza. Hope you all understood everything until here, all right? Okay. Once again, in the third and last stanza, the poet again asks a question. What does he plant who plants a tree? He plants in sap and leaf and wood. As in, the person who plants and starts off with the seed grows into saps, leaves, and woods, basically. So he plants all the parts of a basic tree that is also very beneficial for us, because we know we don't only get oxygen, but we get different resources from a plant. So he plants different parts of a tree. Then in love of home and loyalty, and far cast thought of civic good. So in love of home and loyalty, as in by planting a tree, a man is completing his or her civic duty of planting a tree that this entire land needs. This land, or our earth, the place that we all live in, needs loyalty, in love of home, as in this whole planet that we live in needs some love, and this love will be bought by planting a tree. So by planting a tree, a man is completing his civic duty and is being loyal towards his home, his or her home, that is earth. So in love of home and loyalty, and far cast thought of civic good. Far cast thought of civic good, meaning far cast as in he's thinking about, when he's planting the tree, he's also thinking about the next generation that will come in, right? He's thinking about the unborn eyes, the future generation, and the civic good, as we just saw that the man or the woman, they're completing their civic duty. His blessings on the neighborhood, as in that person who is planting a tree is not only blessing himself, he's blessing his family, his neighborhood, every single one, because every single one over here needs a tree. Without a tree, we won't be able to survive, and this basic planet won't be able to survive, right? Who in the hollow of his land holds all the growth of all our land. So, in the hollow of his land, as in the empty space of his hand, his or her hand that he holds, he uses that to plant a tree. So the empty space, as in who in the hollow of his hand. The hollow of his hand, as in the empty space that he or she has in his or her hand, that they use that space to plant new trees on our land. Now, one thing to note over here is his over here is given in capital letter. So his basically refers to a godlike person, like a destiny maker, right? So just note, that's one note for you to make. And this way that we just saw, who in the hollow of his land holds all the growth of all our land. All the growth of all our land, basically, why? Because our land needs tree. And this way, the man or the woman blesses people and benefits the society by planting such a beneficial tree, because a tree is very beneficial. A nation's growth from sea to sea. So that person is helping the nation grow also, because the nation depends a lot on trees, and a nation is growing that way because we need oxygen as well. So a nation is growing from sea to sea, as in everywhere. Stirs in his heart who plants a tree. So this time the poet is ending the poem in a different note. Stirs in his heart who plants a tree. So, in these previous four lines, we have seen all the duties that the person has to go through while planting a tree. So, we see that the feelings of man, his dreams and ambitions behind planting a tree, is in his heart, right? And how he helps the nation is in his heart. It stirs in his heart his civic duties, all of that. And that person, all these responsibilities stirs in that person's heart who plants a tree. All right. So with this, we come to an end of the complete poem. I hope you all understood this basic poem or chapter, whatever you want to call it. And now I'll just talk a little about the title of the poem, and the theme of the poem, and some basic things that you have to go through, because it's it's very important that you go through all the poetic devices, the theme of the poem, because a lot of questions can come from this. Okay, so I will give you an overall description of the poem, and basically what the poem is. Okay, so some main points of the poem is the poem focuses on the value of trees. Planting trees will benefit all in several ways, of course. A tree is a friend of the sun and sky. It ensures cool breezes, atmosphere of peace, music and harmony. Congenial atmosphere of peace, music and harmony, and many other benefits follow, as in cool shade and tender rain in summer, then serves as a living legacy for the next generation. A person planting trees does a civic good. He ensures growth and welfare of our country. Planting a tree comes to planting a nation, because the whole nation is benefited from that one tree. Because imagine the person who started a forest, like the forest that we see, that person has built such a big forest, which has not only given rise to wildlife, but the entire nation, as you can see, right? Wildlife and yeah, basically just wildlife, like, lions, tigers, all of those animals, right? Now, talking about the theme of the poem. So, The Heart of the Tree by the poet Henry Bunner, or Sir Henry, however you want to call him, is the heart. The heart of a tree is basically, it highlights on the need of planting trees, and the tree proves to be quite large-hearted, as it benefits all. And Sanjay, basically, a tree helps everyone in different ways. Everything that we see around our house, I cannot believe that I am sure that every person in this planet has at least one or two items of a tree inside their house. Whether that person is environmentalist or anything at all, I'm sure a person must have something or the other in his house, in his or her house, regarding a tree, basically. And a tree has the ability to form the atmosphere. It's a friend of the sun and sky. It creates beauty around the shelter of birds, and one who plants a tree ensures cool shade in summer and gentle rain. Now, if the people who plant a tree are gone, we are also dead. And I keep emphasizing on that, because that is what the whole poem talks about, right? This was like just a brief introduction, or a brief about the theme of the poem, what the theme or themes of the poem was about. I haven't touched upon all points, but since mainly we are here to talk about the poem, I'll talk about that, and I'm just giving a brief on the theme, etc., if you want to, if you need it, right? Then, moving on, some literacy devices is that we see are metaphor, alliteration, and imaginary. Imagery in many places, like the flag of breeze is free. Like we actually imagine the tree going from here to there, just like a flag. Then visual images like shaft of beauty, towering high, etc. Metaphor like a friend of sun and sky, the flag of breeze is free. Then alliteration like he plants a friend of sun and sky, right? Then hushed and heard. In hushed and happy, twilight heard. So hushed, happy, heard. Then in years and years that flood and flush again. So flush, fade, fade, flush. That's the sound of F. So that is alliteration. So these are some poetry devices, not a lot in this poem. And with this, we come to an end. Like officially, we come to an end of this poem. I hope you all understood each and everything. If you have any doubts, post it in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to solve them. And until next time, bye. Oh wait, until that time, I hope you have not forgotten to like, share, subscribe to FikarNot.com if you like this video, alright? Now, finally, go and rest. Go and take a break now. Bye.